Hey everyone, Craig with Single Length School, and we are back. And we're bringing Zach back. We're going to do a review. So, what do you say? Let's get started. All right. So, if you're new to the channel or you haven't done so, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notifications bell right beside it, and then go give me a follow on social media: Facebook, Instagram. It's at Single Length School. Over on Twitter, it's at One Length School. And go check out singlelengthschool.com. So I am proud to welcome back somebody that a lot of guys have asked about and wanted to see how he's doing. So let's welcome back Zach from Muscular Style. How are you doing, Zach?
Very well. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited.
Good. No problem. And I'm glad to have you back. So Zach, we've had a lot of guys asking since our last online session that we put out there. That was video number 5. It's been a few weeks. I can't quite remember what we covered. I think it was putting and chipping, but so guys want to do a little bit of a follow-up. So before we get into how the game's been going, tell them kind of what's been happening the last few weeks where you live and why we haven't been able to kind of get any more videos out there.
Well, it has been very, very cold here. I got in a couple of last rounds, but every time we've gone to record, it's been either freezing or raining or snowing. So I live up in Utah, and it's crazy weather right now. I think yesterday was in the 60s, and today I think it's supposed to be 30s or 40s. So the weather is just not very kind for golfing out here. So I did get a couple rounds in, so we do have some updates, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to get on recording at the course until next year, probably. So
that's okay. And I think a lot of guys are running into that situation now. We talked about it a little bit earlier. My weather situation here, the last couple of days, it's been cold. We've had snow, we've had rain, we've had wind. Now today and the next week, it's going to be upper 50s, 60s, and sun. And there's a chance the golf course may be open on Thanksgiving itself as well. So that may happen. Doesn't mean I'm going out because Thanksgiving, I won't golf Thanksgiving Day, usually because I'm in no condition to golf. But, so a lot to look forward to. But, let me ask you this. I know the last video I released, or one of the last videos I released, depending on when you're watching this, was about different things you can do in the winter to keep your game sharp. So let's kind of start there and talk about what your plans are with the winter. And, obviously we've talked about some things, but what are your plans in the winter to kind of keep your game sharp?
So I guess first thing I've done is I'm muscular guy, run Muscular Style. So I have switched my workouts a little bit. I was doing kind of some powerlifting stuff, which is just slow strength. I've switched to, I competed as an Olympic weightlifter in college. So doing those because they are explosive, more core strength, more, acceleration type training. So switching that. So hopefully that can transfer to my game. But I've also got they're Architect swing sticks. I don't use the super speed sticks, I think it's what they're called, but I've got some of those so that, I can make sure that one, I'm able to repeat my swing over and over throughout the winter and I don't lose that. But I do want to try to increase my swing speed as well. I already swing fairly fast, so maybe that's not the most important thing, but I haven't actually trained the swing as far as speed goes. And, as a shot putter, which is rotational strength, that was a decade ago for me. So my core is not what it used to be. I want to kind of get back to that. As far as being able to practice maybe some like chipping or putting, it's kind of questionable how much I'm able to do that. But as long as for me, I can at least ingrain that pattern at least weekly. I plan on more, 3-4 times a week being able to swing those. That way, when it comes springtime and I get out there, I don't feel like I've never golfed before and we're starting all over. So,
okay. Yeah, and I know, you talked about the weightlifting and how you've adjusted it a little bit. For the guys out there that don't know, Zach has a video on his channel on how to train your body to swing like Bryson DeChambeau, how to get that added distance and that added strength. So I'm going to put a link down in the description to Zach's channel and to that video, as well as up here, the little pop-up. Actually, it's going to be on this side, but that little pop-up, you're going to see that'll actually link you right over to Zach's Bryson video as well. So we've got that going on. We know what your kind of plan is in the winter. Let's talk about your game, and let's talk about not necessarily scores. We'll get to scores, but let's kind of get, you know, the viewers right now. Let's get them pumped up. Let's get them amped up. So let's start with we're going to work our way up the ladder here. So let's talk about how were the last few rounds of your putting been since, you know, the last kind of putting tips and different things we did with the putter?
So the round right after we had the putting, I went and golfed one of the nicer courses around here, and I don't know what had happened, but all the greens were very wet. I don't know if they had just wet them or if it just rained, but they were so incredibly slow. So I was trying to practice, you know, we talked about, you know, getting your distance set as far as how far you come back and forward, and that just was not working. I was able to use that mindset though and say, okay, well, my normal 15-foot putt just went 5 feet. So I need to try to readjust. And by the end of the round, I was actually putting decently well. My last round that I did, so the round after that, putts went much better. I had a couple of, I think my best putt was probably a 20-foot putt, and I missed it by only about 6 inches, and it stopped about 6 inches from the cup. So I've been doing a lot better with that. I remember, you know, the first couple of rounds before we did any lessons, the long putts just killed me. Most of the time I'd putt them off the green because I'm strong, and I was like, oh, I really need to get this going, and you really don't. So a lot of those did go better. In fact, overall, my last round, I'd say my putting was pretty good. You know, I did have some 3 putts, which were a lot more typical for me, but I would guess probably 3 or 4 less 3 putts than I normally had. I had a lot more 2 putts and even a couple of 1 putts, which weren't common at all. So putting is going a lot better than it was.
Awesome. So one of the other things we worked on before that, and, you know, since that video and kind of while you've been out there, some of the things that we've talked about kind of off camera and through text messages and things like that is chipping. You know, we had talked about finding which one of your clubs was more comfortable for you. You know, learning some of the trajectories, you know, adjusting the height on the chips and things like that. You know, tell us how your chipping's been coming and where your chipping game is.
Okay. So my last round, 2 rounds ago, I had some really great chips. Like I think that was probably a week after we had the lesson, and it just went really well. Then I went a week or 2 without a whole lot of practice, and I had some okay holes, and then I had 1 or 2 where I chipped. It was like 7 times. I kept blading it, and it didn't go so well. So then I came home and started practice chipping and going through the different clubs, and I found that. And I'm still practicing this, but I think what I found is that my 60 is maybe a little too much for me to control very well. I like my gap wedge, which is a 50-degree. I think I like it because it's a 1 length. I didn't think I would like 1 length wedges, but I actually think, you know, down the road when I do change out those clubs, I'm going to go to 1 length wedges because I felt like I had better control. It felt more consistent. You know, that is the swing I've been practicing, so that makes sense. But right now, I think I'm going to switch from my main club being a 60 to a 56 because that was kind of the happy medium between the two. It doesn't feel as controlled as, you know, my 1 length 50-degree, but it doesn't feel as out of control as my 60. So I just usually don't pull it out because it's not my nicest club. It's a 4-year-old TaylorMade wedge, whereas my 60 is a like brand new Cobra Mim wedge. So I want to play the new wedge, but it's just there's not as much control there. So I think down the road, 56 1 length Cobra wedge will be, you know, a game changer for me. But until then, just practicing that, I think will work. My most practice chips were kind of, you know, getting the height and stopping the ball, which has gone a lot better. What I do need to practice is the runners. I feel like the problem I have is either hit them too soft and they don't quite get there, or hit them way too hard. So I need to practice those a bit more. But my, you know, the stop chips, you know, the height on them has been so much better than it was. So.
Okay. And I think some people probably picked up on this as you were talking, but for those that don't know, your wedge setup and your one length setup, you have a 56 and 60 that are the traditional lengths that are shorter than the one lengths, correct?
Yeah. Yep. So I've got a 56 TaylorMade. It's the mill grind, the original, not the new one, and then the Cobra Mim 60, which are both standard. So they're quite a bit shorter than the one length.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. So, but all right. So chipping, we know we need to work on, and the video I have out there with winter tips and stuff. You've already texted me and said, hey, I've got some my sights set on a couple things to kind of help and get you able to chip all winter.
Yeah.
So as we're working our way up here to see your progression and how things are going, let's talk about the iron play. How's that been? And I know because I get to see some of the numbers when you send some stuff over, but tell everybody how the iron play's been.
Yeah, so irons have been, I'll start by saying they've been difficult because I no longer know my distances. My swings have been getting a lot more consistent. I don't chunk it hardly ever. I think I have a couple of times, and I have Arcos for those of you curious. So I track every single shot. I can go back through my rounds and see, I'm like, oh, that was, why did this go poorly? And that way I can kind of, practice what I need to. And I noticed that my distances on Arcos are no longer accurate. It'll suggest a club. For example, there's I think it was 190-yard hole over, it's basically like a swampland. It suggested a 6-iron. I hit the 6-iron. It went over the green, and there's houses behind the green. It went between the houses through the road. It was like a 225-yard shot. So it was like 35 yards past. So the hardest part is now judging distances because my iron striking has gotten really good. Another example is my 4-iron. My distance on that before was 195. Now it's more like 265, just because I'm actually hitting it well. It's actually getting good flight. And so picking distances has been hard, but when I do pick the right club, it goes right where I want it. It's on the fairway most of the time. And if it's not, it's really not that far off. So I'd say if I were to pick a strong point in my game, it's irons minus selecting the right club for the distance.
If I can make a suggestion, Zach, here, while you're in winter, maybe either batch out those distances from Arcos or delete them. So when the spring comes, you have those updated distances and you can kind of start fresh and really get the right number for you. That was obviously one of the things. And some guys are going to say there's no way it's 265. I mean, yeah, we've got the pictures to prove it's 265 for that 4-iron. And it's going to make sense for you guys as we start to talk about his driver in woods as well. Why it is what it is. All his clubs have increased, just from the 5 lessons that we had, and his overall game has increased. But again, to take you guys back, Zach is, one at the point was, or at the time was one of the elite shot putters in the world. So he's got a lot of core strength. He's a more muscular man. He's got a lot of muscle fiber. He can generate a lot of speed. So, that's Zach's background. And so it doesn't take much for him to really create the added speed. So irons are going well. Let's talk about your 3-wood.
3-wood. So I have my 5-wood, my 3-wood, and my driver. 5-wood I need to figure out how to use better, but my 3-wood has been going really well. I think, was it 3 rounds ago, I hit it 310. And it was, so there's a hole that it kind of bottlenecks. It's literally like 5 yards wide. And then to the left of that is water and trees. And my golf partner is always like, all right, just lay up here. And I was like, where do I need to go? He's like, right in between those trees there. I'm like, okay. So I pull out a 3-wood and I hit that little 5-yard patch of green, and it rolled, and I don't know what it's carrying, but total is 310. So 3-wood is going well. It is. So like I said, it's my only, I guess I don't think I mentioned this. It's my only TaylorMade besides that wedge. The flex on it is weird. I feel like my stiff on my Cobra 5 wood is an actual stiff, and this one it throws me off. It feels whippy, but I'm able to hit it well, and that's, I think, just come from the consistency and the coaching that we've done. So I think that will be one of the next clubs I replace, just because it feels off, but I'm confident enough to pull it out on holes where I need it and get it to go where I need it to. So.
All right, and let's talk about the big stick.
All right, so driver. So background, I don't know if we ever covered this, but I had an Adams XTD driver from like 2012, and my best drive with it, I think, was 250 or 275 before we started. Actually, I think it was 250 before we started, and then we got it up to 275 with some coaching. Swapped it out, got an extra stiff shaft, so I have the Cobra F8. We turned that down to 9. Before, I think the last time we talked, I think my best drive with that was actually about 310. I think it was about the same as my 3 wood, and I was really concerned about that. But 2 rounds ago, I hit a 325-yard drive, which, gave me a little confidence. I was excited about that. And then my last round, I thought it was the last round of the year, so I wanted to beat it. First drive on the course, I hit 339 yards, straight down the center. It was beautiful. I mean, the rest of the round wasn't quite that beautiful, but the driver's gone up as well. And really, that's come from focusing on, things we talked about when I can still envision that hit. And really, I was just, trying to focus on keeping my arm straight, going smooth back and exploding, through, and not whipping, back and forth, just kind of keeping a smooth, consistent swing, as well as keeping balanced. And it went well. I wasn't trying to kill it. I was planning on killing it a few holes later to beat that. But it was such a beautiful drive that I tried to mimic that the whole round. So.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And, again, really, we only had 5 lessons together. And before that, you were kind of a newbie to the game. So, it sounds like that's trending well. I guess the biggest thing guys are going to want to know is, the progression of your scores. How have your scores been doing, and how have they changed over the last, couple weeks?
So 2 rounds ago, I'll have to look this up and verify, but I think I shot, so the course we golfed was harder than my normal course. It's one I had only golfed once, and our last hole was literally in the dark. So, but we just played 9, and I think I want to say maybe 14 over. To contrast that, the first time I played my home course, which was only, I think, 3 rounds before we started working together, on 9, I shot, I think it was like 22 over. So it was really bad. But my last hole at that course was literally in the dark, and I drove it. I think that was the 325-yard drive, and I hit an iron up to just outside the green. I birdied that hole, and it was, just, employing the lessons that we had. So that went really well. I did have, I think it was the first 2 holes. If you had taken those out, I would have been just under, bogey golf, just on like a +7 or 8. But getting warmed up, I didn't get warmed up, actually. We just showed up on the course and went. That was my mistake. But this last round on the full 18, I shot, I think it was a +25 maybe, which is down from that +40 over 40. And that's my home course. So, and again, I think there was 2 holes. One was with the chipping. I had like a +6. And then on another hole, I had a +4. So if you take those 2 out, it was actually really good golf. I had 1 or 2 birdies. I had a couple of pars, and then most of my holes were, +1. And so a lot better than it was, because I was averaging kind of more +2, and occasionally maybe a +1. I don't think I ever had a par before we started working together, at least on my home course. So it's going a lot better.
Good. So really, you've broken 100 for the first time.
Yeah.
since we've done the lessons. And I think, as you and I have talked from day one to your last round here, I think every time's gone the right direction. It's been a progression to a lower score and a new record for yourself, correct?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Arcos tracks everything, and it always every time I play again, it's like, oh, new personal best, new personal best. So it's always getting better. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we keep working on it and work over the winter here, and we'll get you in a much better position. And again, I appreciate you coming on the channel, and love working with you here. And for you guys that kind of want to learn like Zach did over the online teaching method, you can sign up for that at singlelengthschool.com. We've got those lessons available, but guys, go check out Zach's channel, Muscular Style. Again, I have it linked down below. I'll put a direct link up to his channel right here. Oh, I got it right this time. So if you click on this link right here, it'll go right to his channel. Check out some of his videos. He's got some great golf muscular building tips, some great tips for working out for the golf game. And as always, Zach, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Anything you kind of want to let everybody know before you head into the off season here into the winter?
I just want to thank you for having me on the channel. It's been great. I do want to let anyone know that if you are looking for golf lessons, this was the best option. At least for me, I looked locally and prices are crazy. And Craig did a lot more in a lot less time than I thought we were going to be able to do. So if you're curious, at least try out a couple of lessons. Your game will get better. But for me, Muscular Style, I've decided to include some more golf content. My audience and you guys have liked it, and I've been getting a lot more people that way. So you will see more golf content over the winter. So if you want to check that out, that'll be there. But until springtime, just make sure you're practicing, make sure you're working out. If you haven't worked out, or if you need a plan, come over to my channel, ask, research, whatever you've got to do, but add a little bit of strength, and that way your game will be better when you get back on the course.
All right. Well, thanks again, Zach. Glad we finally got you golfing smarter, not harder. And, we appreciate it and look forward to catching up with you in the spring. Obviously, you and I will stay in touch behind the scenes. But again, guys, until next week with our new video, this is Craig signing off saying, keep it in the fairways, and we will see you soon.